It doesn't begin with trauma that anyone talks about. There's no single explosion, no obvious wound. It begins with absence. You're there, but you're not seen. You speak, but no one really hears you. Your emotions pass through the room like background noise. So early on, your nervous system learns something dangerous and profound. Attention is not guaranteed. Love must be earned. Presence must be justified. And without ever deciding it consciously, you start to fade. Not physically, psychologically. This is how invisibility is formed. We're breaking down the 7 psychological rules that govern the lives of people who grew up unseen. Because these rules don't stay in childhood. They shape your identity, your relationships, your self-worth, and the quiet ways you suffer as an adult. Rule 1. You learn that being low maintenance is safer than being honest. When no one responds to your needs, you stop having them. You learn not to ask, not to interrupt, not to take up space. You become easy. You become chill. You become fine. But what you're really doing is shrinking, because attention feels unpredictable and rejection feels devastating. So you adapt. You silence hunger. You swallow discomfort. You convince yourself that wanting less makes you stronger. In reality, it makes you invisible, even to yourself. Rule 2. You become hyper-aware of others and disconnected from yourself. And children who feel unseen learn to study people. You read tone shifts. You notice micro-expressions. You sense emotional weather before it changes. This isn't intuition. It's survival. Psychologically, this is hypervigilance, a nervous system trained to monitor others instead of listening inward. So as an adult, you may know exactly how everyone else feels, but have no idea what you need. You feel responsible for harmony, uncomfortable with conflict, anxious when emotions rise, even when they're not yours. You disappear so others can stay comfortable. Rule 3. You confuse visibility with burden. Somewhere along the way, you learn that being noticed comes at a cost. Maybe when you spoke up, someone got annoyed. Maybe when you cried, no one came. Maybe when you needed support, the room went quiet. So your brain made a connection. If I'm seen, I cause problems. And that belief follows you into adulthood. You apologize for existing. You hesitate before sharing good news. You downplay pain. You fear being too much. You don't want to be a burden, so you carry everything alone. Rule 4. You learn to earn love through usefulness. When presence alone doesn't bring connection, usefulness becomes currency. You help, you listen, you fix, you show up. You become valuable, but not cherished. Psychologically, this creates conditional self-worth. You feel lovable when you're needed, and empty when you're not. So rest feels uncomfortable. Stillness feels pointless. And love without effort feels suspicious. You're not addicted to productivity. You're addicted to proof that you deserve to exist. Rule 5. You feel deeply, but express carefully. Invisibility doesn't mean emotional numbness. Often, it means the opposite. You feel intensely, but you learned early that expressing it wasn't safe or welcomed. So emotions get filtered, softened, delayed. You become composed under pressure, calm in crisis, strong when things fall apart, and the world praises you for it. But inside there's a backlog of unfelt grief, moments where you needed comfort and received silence instead. That grief doesn't disappear. It waits. Rule 6. You struggled to believe that someone would choose you freely. When love in childhood is inconsistent or distracted, attachment becomes complicated. You may crave closeness, but doubt it when it arrives. You question intentions. You wait for withdrawal. You feel safest when you're slightly distant. Because being chosen without effort feels unfamiliar, almost unreal. So even in healthy relationships, part of you stays braced, waiting for the moment you're no longer worth the attention. This isn't pessimism, it's memory. Rule 7. You mistake invisibility for independence. You tell yourself you're self-sufficient, low need, emotionally strong. But strength built on neglect isn't freedom, it's adaptation. You didn't choose independence, you inherited it. And while it once protected you, it may now be isolating you from the very thing you needed all along: to be seen without performing, to be valued without proving, to exist without explanation. The psychological truth beneath all 7 rules. Children will abandon themselves before they abandon attachment. If being invisible was the price of staying connected, even loosely, your nervous system paid it. That wasn't weakness. That was intelligence. But what protected you then may be suffocating you now. Healing doesn't start with becoming louder or more confident. It starts with witnessing, with finally saying, something important about me went unseen. And that mattered. Because until you validate that truth, you'll keep minimizing it. You'll tell yourself it wasn't that bad, that others had it worse, that you should be grateful. But invisibility leaves a mark, and you don't heal what you refuse to acknowledge. Carl Jung once wrote that the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. For someone who grew up invisible, being seen, truly seen, can feel just as frightening as being abandoned. But this is the work. Not becoming someone new, not proving your worth, not earning attention, but returning to the part of you that learned to disappear and saying, I see you now. You don't have to fade anymore. You were never too quiet. You were never insignificant. You were adapting to a world that didn't know how to look at you. And now, you get to stop hiding. Not by force, not by performance, but by presence. Because you don't need to become visible to everyone. Just real with yourself. And that's where everything begins.